The next setup is similar to the first one. We got the rocket and the exploding head. On this one, the exploding head has been duplicated twice to create these 3 rings effects. I'll just show you what it looks like. As you can see, we got 3 rings exploding on the top, and also on the rocket itself, there's an extra emitter to create the smoke effect, as you can see here. Okay, let's switch that off. Also added to this display is a helix, which I'll show you how to set it in a minute. There's the gravity and friction, the environment, and that's basically it. Okay, we start from scratch. Turn this one off. Okay, we go to the toolbar, create an emitter, also friction and gravity. Then we go and create environment object. Go down to the materials, file, shader, pyrocluster, file, shader, pyrocluster volume tracer. Apply the volume tracer to the environment. Go to the emitter. Go down to rotation P and change it to -90 degree and apply. That should turn our particles facing down. Go to the emitter, emitter attributes, click on the emitter tab. The emitter type, make sure you are on pyramid, and X and Y size change to 10. Then go to the horizontal angle and the vertical angle and change it to 20 degrees, both of them. Then go to the particle tab and change both birth rate editor and birth rate render to 2000 particles. Set start emission time to frame 10 and stop emission to frame 50. Then change lifetime to frame 14 and speed to 1000. Leave variation on 0 and 0 and check render instance. Go back to the emitter and name it Sparks. Control drag to duplicate it. Name the second one Smoke. Click on the smoke emitter. Change the birth rate to 300 and the birth rate render to 300. Start emission at 10 and stop emission at 50. Lifetime 14 as with the other one. The only thing you need to change is the speed. reduce to 800 from the speed you had set. Everything else just leave as it is. Go to the emitter tab and change the X size and the Y size to 35 instead of 10. And the angle horizontal and angle vertical to 7 degrees. Now go back to gravity, check that it's on 250 acceleration, and the friction you need to set to 1.7. Run the animation. Okay, we got nice flow of particles for the rocket. Now we need to create another particle emitter. On the emitter tab, set it to pyramid and the size to 0. The angle, the horizontal angle, is the only one you want to set, and put it on maximum 360 degree. That will give us the ring effect as it explodes. Okay. Now go back to the particle tab. And set the birth rate editor to 180 and the birth rate render to 180. Go to the particle and set the birth rate editor to 180 and the birth rate render to 180. Start emission at 62 and stop emission at 65. We only want to be there on 3 frames to portray the explosion. Then set the lifetime to 40, variation to 40, speed 4000, and variation is 0. And don't forget to check the render instance tab. Now quickly run the animation. Got the rocket and then the ring exploding. We then duplicate this ring twice and change the timing so we got 3 rings effect. Move it further back, you'll see. Bring it down. There you go. Okay, bring that back to 0. We now name this emitter, bring it right down and name this emitter Explode 1. Then control drag it down twice to create another 2 emitters and change this one to Explode 2 and Explode 3. So we got 3 of them. Then select them, select the 3 exploding emitters, right click and group objects. Now we got them under one null object, so they all stay together and then it'd be easier to manipulate it. And on the null object. We call it rings, so we don't get confused with others. Okay, so the rings are under this null object. Now, in order to change the 3 exploding emitters to different timing, quick way around it, leave the first one as it is. We'll change the speed rather than the start emission and stop emission. It's a quick way around it. So go to explode 2 and halve it to 2000, and then go explode 3 and reduce it to 1000. And now if you run the animation, let me just turn it slightly so you can see the angle, see the rings a bit better. If you run the animation now, you'll see we got 3 rings effect. Okay. We now create the helix and shape it to the shape we need and the height. So just go to the toolbar, and here you got the helix. Now change the P rotation to -90°. And click on the helix, go to start radius, change it to 206, start angle to -1000 degree, end radius to 50, end angle leave as it is, default 720 degree, radial bias you need to change to 34, the height you need to increase to 3541, then height bias to 54, and subdivision to 200. Leave all the rest as they are. Just move back a bit so you can see the full height of the... So you basically should end up with a spiral that is slightly wider at the base and narrow on the top. At this stage, I suggest you go to File, Save Incremental, and give it a name. Okay. Now we need to just drag the helix down below the environment. We're also going to create a camera at this stage, so we can look through the camera. Should be set there, and when we want to change, we're just going to look through the editor camera. I just click on that. That's going to be the camera, and leave it where it is now. Okay, we just try that. Okay, just so we can see the rings when it's gone up. Okay, now we need to also select the sparks and the smoke. Right click and group objects and call this one rocket. Okay, now we need to get both the rocket and the exploding rings to follow the helix shape, we're going to use Align to Spline, which you will find by right-clicking on the rocket and then from the menu Cinema-4D tags, Align to Path, Align to Spline is the second one. Okay, on the Align to Spline tag, where it says Spline Path, drag the helix and drop in there. Now as you can see, the smoke and the sparks align themselves at the base of the helix.